This episode of the podcast is brought to you by Cannabinoid Nation.
As an entrepreneur, we all know that starting a business is super difficult, and it's especially difficult in the cannabis and hemp industries. Understanding the regulatory compliance framework in a given state, having adequate equipment for your grow operation, developing and implementing a business marketing plan to drive sales can be overwhelming for most operators, and in most cases, not the best use of their time. Fortunately, the team of consultants and specialists at Cannabinoid Nation provide best-in-class industry solutions that aim to increase the likelihood of success for growers, processors, and manufacturers. Visit their website to learn more about their best-in-class solutions at cannabinoidnation.com. That's cannabinoidnation.com. Cannabinoid Nation, the cannabis and hemp industry's premier brokerage and consulting firm. Hello, my fellow people of the plant. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of the Cannabinoid Connect podcast, your favorite podcast that includes industry-facing conversations with the industry's leading experts that aim to educate and inform the public regarding the plant's endless benefits. My guest today is Marcello Leone. He's the CEO of BevCanna Enterprises. Marcello, how you doing, sir?
How are you, Kevin? How are you?
I'm good, man. I'm good. I've really enjoyed talking with you pre-recording. You're a very nice guy, easy to talk to, and I know that it's going to make for a really great conversation now that we record today.
Thank you so much, as
Yeah,
you are as well. So thank you, Kevin.
thank you. So, Marcello, I know from what I've read and what I've gathered from your background, you're an accomplished entrepreneur. And before we recorded, we talked about our passion for entrepreneurship and how kind of our personalities really fit the entrepreneur mindset. So why don't you tell us about your background, certain businesses that you've started, may have sold, and what made you come to the cannabis industry?
Sure. Wow, great question. Loaded question there. Uh, I started off very young. Come from humble beginnings. My parents started an apparel business, and so for almost 30 years, I worked in our family business where we used to own the Gianni Versace franchise, the Dolce Gabbana franchise. We were the largest independent high-end specialty retailer across Canada. Uh,
Wow.
so that was kind of interesting and very much in the charting a new course when it came to the 80s and the 90s and the 2000s with designer apparel. And we've seen the luxury business, how that's kind of evolved. And then my parents sold that business when I was about 41 years old. And so at 42, I was faced with had a great exit out of the family business. My mom and dad did very well, so I was happy to be able to help the family. Our backgrounds, Italian background, and my wife is Mexican, so you can very very culturally help the family.
Yeah.
And so I at 42, I was like, my wife and I were like, wow, what are we gonna do? And that was the journey where my wife and I kind of looked at the white space. What was the world going to look like perhaps in 10 years or the next 10, 15 or 20 years? And it's really being able to try to find that white space like us entrepreneurs and see, okay, where is the future? Where is it that we can become somewhat innovative? What's innovative enough? Where's that market kind of headed? So my wife and I that was at that point that we made two investments, and both investments that we made were in the health and wellness space. And we really saw that health and wellness was something that, when I was young, going to the gym, you didn't want to go to the gym because the only people that went to the gym were really big, muscular guys that would spend hours and hours in the gym. So it was kind of intimidating. And,
Right.
and now you see where the world is. Now it's keeping ourselves healthy. Doesn't mean it
Yeah.
doesn't matter if
It
you go to the.
it's it seems like it's changed, right? Like when your example that you just mentioned, it seems like there was this focus back in the day of like strength and just pumping iron and getting strong, where when you use the word health and wellness, it's more of everyday frequent activity or behavior to ensure that you have longevity for health, right?
Absolutely. And so we're seeing, so that's when, now you see today the big movement in
Right.
plant-based foods, in plant-based beverages, in everything that we do is based around how can we become healthier, and how do
Mm-hmm.
we live longer, and how do we take care of ourselves in a more natural way versus uh, pumping ourselves with pills or pharmaceutical, how can we make our life a better life? So
Right.
uh, my wife and I, at that moment, I was not the healthiest. I used to get walking pneumonia a couple of times a year because as an entrepreneur, I was very, always on the go, always on the go.
Right.
And I was introduced to a plant-based um, composition, and it was our plant-based infused plant-based minerals that I was introduced to almost 8 years ago, and it was a concentrate nutraceutical. And I was experiencing, they told me what the benefits of the product was, and I was like, wow, that's interesting. You can imagine, hey, Kev, you hear that, but you really want to try it and make
For
sure, hey,
sure. Yeah.
it works.
It's almost too good to be true, right? You're like,
And
what?
so I
Yeah.
started to take this concentrate. My wife said, "You got to try it. You got to try it. This is going to make your immune system much stronger. You won't need to take pills. You just naturally will build your immune system stronger." And I also had my runner's knee that would come on every other day. So I was, kind of like pre-arthritis, and my recovery was not very good. So I would, whenever I would walk a lot, I would always get inflamed on my knees.
Mm-hmm.
So I was introduced to this plant-based nutraceutical, and wow, the results after the first 3-4 months was just like this natural booster, natural energy booster. I had that extra step to me, and more importantly, long and short of it, it's now 8.5 years later. I have never had walking pneumonia again. I have never had a
Wow.
cold. I don't take my shots, my flu shots. I'm au naturel, and my runner's knee comes on every couple of months. So wow, my wife, I was like, wow, this is amazing. And I had no knowledge, Kevin, whatsoever of the beverage industry.
Mm-hmm.
So completely new to it. But what I did keep in mind was, if I am going to go into the beverage health and wellness space, then I want to make sure that there's something of innovation of the product that we bring to market.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, there is no point. And it took me 5.5 years to get Health Canada compliance, and I built the world's first CPG plant-based functional minerals in a ready-to-drink beverage that today in Canada we have at about 3,000 points of distribution. And we're starting to see now, as you can see, lots in you just turn on the television, Tide, plant-based Tide, and plant-based home delivery foods to your home, and plant-based beverages. And so now it's so natural and normal in the world versus what it was like 5 years ago. And
Right.
so I was able to get this ready to drink. This is the only CPG RTD drink with Health Canada CFIA approval, the highest level of approval, which is equivalent to US FDA approval. And so I'm really proud as an entrepreneur to be able to chart a whole new territory. And when you do that, uncharted waters, you look to expand across the world, it's quite interesting, because as you learn as an entrepreneur, when beverages come into your body, it's considered food. So it's no different than food safety. And
Right.
so compliance is critical. And we're proud that we have the highest level of compliance in Canada. And what we did was we also made sure that we ended up not only falling in love with the product and building the product, but we also wanted to make sure that we had the best foundation of water as well to infuse our plant-based minerals. And so that infusion process, which we'll talk a little bit about as we get onto cannabis as well, infusing is a process that is not the easiest process. And in order to have the efficacy of the product still be there and taste great was critical. So we ended up acquiring our own aquifer as well. So we also sell our own natural alkaline water untouched by man throughout retail distribution, national distribution as well. So that's kind of a little bit of a snapshot, Kevin, of how I kind of started in the entrepreneurial space, how I kind of started into the beverage business. And from that vision of trying the product, I ended up acquiring in Osoyoos, British Columbia, which would be equivalent to your Napa Valley. It's where we grow all of our grapes and beautiful vegetables and fruits, and it's a wine country for us.
Right.
And right there, we ended up acquiring a 310 acres with our own aquifer. And we ended up building from when we first started 8.5 years ago. The bottling facility was only about 6,000 square feet. Today, it's over 42,000 square feet, specialized in two segments: 30,000 square feet for CPG products, where they are infused with plant-based products or regular alkaline, and we can make any beverage that you choose. And those are non-cannabis products, which is nice. So when we talk about our business model, you'll see the different revenue streams that we have. So that was nice. And then you got 30,000 square feet for that. And then you have 12,000 square feet for, we received about 3 months ago, our standard processing license. These are all CPG, non-cannabis, non-CBD. These are all products that if you want water-based products, or you're going to develop, or you want to do your own white label for a tea, or you want to do your own beverage, these are what we call CPG products, non-infused with CBD, etc. Once you infuse CBD or cannabis, you need a separate facility, and you need separate licensing, Health Canada license, and separate compliance and SOPs. And then only then, which is a great competitive advantage for us, because there's very few people that can offer than to do their own brands like we have with Anarchist Mountain, or we offer full white label as well, Kevin. So it allows a major national to come to us, as we can bottle over 200 million bottles per annum, or you can service entrepreneurs who have a smaller request and starting a vision of their own business, and we're there to service them as well. So that's kind of the basis of the model: innovation for nutraceuticals, plant-based products, and our own cannabis products, and white label opportunities for others as well. So there you have two different revenue models, two different. So if you were to walk into our facility, into our business, one entrance for the 30,000 square foot side, and another entrance and separate facility for the cannabis-infused side license. So does that give you a bit of a snapshot as if you were walking into it?
It does.
What's important is how you infuse, and that's what we talked about earlier. See,
and let's jump into that. So let's talk about how you infuse the product.
So as we liquefy our plant-based minerals and infuse it and dose it into a water-based product, like a ready to drink, the infusion is important to figure out, hey, here are some of the claims that Health Canada allows you to make on the products. You can't make any claims unless government regulation tells you what you're able to do or not do. And what you want to do when you do infuse these products is, if you got to figure it out perfectly, that when you do drink the beverage, it tastes like great beverage. It's gulpable. It tastes great. There is no mineralized taste that lingers on. And so that's a process that took us 4 or 5 years to work with Health Canada and make sure we got it right, and allows us to have the efficacy of the product. Right. Health Canada allows us to speak to helps prevent cognitive degeneration. Plant-based product helps as a very strong probiotic gut clean, acts as a very strong immune natural booster. Remember, I told you I never took any more shots for flu shots for my walking pneumonia, and I never had it again. Right. And helps reduce osteoporosis. So that's on the CPG non-cannabis side. And then when you get to cannabis-infused beverages, this is an important process as well of dosing, but more importantly, finding the right formulations and infusion that is tasteless, colorless, and odorless,
and mixes well, right?
And mixes well, and then tastes good. Because if you taste some of the products that are out in North America, one of the lingering characteristics that you can see with THC infused products is you can have a bit of an aftertaste. It tastes like there's a strong lingering taste, and that's critical on the infusion and emulsion partners that you use, and so that you make sure that when it does mix, it's gulpable, it tastes great, and there's not that lingering effect of cannabis from a taste perspective, because sometimes it tastes a little bit like grass.
Right, right. Or it has that earthy taste, right?
Yeah.
Where it's, yeah, I know what
And
you're talking
getting
about.
it right and getting our industry to the next level, you want to make sure that it tastes just like a great gulpable beverage.
Mm-hmm.
It
No,
has the
I agree. And especially with the rise of cannabis infused beverages or even just plant-based beverages in general, like you mentioned, like that is so important. And that's where some people I think are missing the mark, is because everybody's trying to race to this now that it's kind of a trend. Obviously, you guys were uniquely positioned way before this, and you're kind of enjoying the fruit of your looms right now, right? Because you've already done the work to get to the point where you are the leader in Canada and you're white labeling your services. So how have you seen that evolution in the cannabis? Let's talk about the cannabis infused beverage space. Like, has
yeah.
it been just a whirlwind and a roller coaster over the past couple of years to where we're at now? And how has that experience been?
Yeah, Canada is was the first G7 country in the world, so
Right,
we are federally on. So,
right.
uh, and that we're hoping that happens quicker in the United States and globally, that we see this opening up even more. But Canada, as you launch and you become the leaders of legalization of cannabis, the rollout of the industry for 2.0 products, edibles, beverages, etc., was a slower rollout than people thought. It was kind of slower by almost a year of anticipation. It kind of
Hmm.
everything kind of went very slow. Kevin, when we were looking at the evolution of 2.0 products, edibles, beverages, etc., in Canada, which is the only G7 country that was fully federally legal, it was quite the delivery and the rollout was a little bit slower than everybody would have liked. I would say that it was delayed overall in our industry by about a year.
Well, there was a lot of like, not, I don't want to say there was compliance, but it was like more of testing, right? Didn't the government want to make sure that these products were tested sufficiently and there was a rigorous kind of process within that to then finally allow the sale? Is that right? Am I butchering that?
No, no, you're there's part, through the whole, when this industry started and got legalized, the government, it's new for them as well, right? And as
Right.
an industry, it's new. And when you look at the Canadian industry, cannabis contributed to almost $17 billion in economic activity in Canada,
Wow.
up from 11 billion the year before, February over February.
Wow.
um, it is just it is exploding. And when you're starting new industry, there are always new compliance things that are required, maybe are not as required, maybe there was an overlooking of this, the laws need to change a little bit over that. So we saw a lot of that in the beginning, and now we're starting to see that we went through a bit of a consolidation of the space up in Canada,
Hmm.
and now you're starting to see really that the adoption of 2.0 is just off the charts. And I think you've got a lot of people that want to use cannabis or CBD from a cannabis plant, but don't necessarily wish to smoke it.
Hmm.
Don't want the carcinogenic residual in their lungs. Hence, 2.0 products are forecasted, beverages specifically, to just be off the charts in the next 24 months, 36. It's that one classification of category that continues to grow and grow. And the adoption, and I think that becomes a different discussion, but lots of people you're going to see that the competition to alcohol, and there's a big discussion there as well, Kevin. Alcohol, why is alcohol, big tobacco, big pharma going to get into this industry? Well, I think it's only inevitable because cannabis, CBD infused beverages, THC infused beverages are going to compete very well against alcohol, and we know that
Right.
the benefits and disadvantages of alcohol. There's a lot of people that have a lot of worries when they drink too much alcohol. As far as infused beverages on the CBD side and cannabis, we don't hear a lot of issues on that front. We do hear a lot of dependency issues in alcohol and the damage that alcohol can do physiologically to our bodies. So yeah, we're really excited. I say, when people ask me, I'd say that we're not even on first base, Kevin. That's how
Right.
that's how young this industry is up in Canada. You guys are in the U.S. It's a little bit more advanced in certain states that have been uh, state legal for many years, but we're waiting for that full adoption of federal legalization. And I think when that happens, wow, North America and the beverage business and even the whole cannabis sector is going to be very, very, very strong.
Yeah, we're gonna see a lot of M&A activity, a lot of acquisitions take place. I mean, we've already seen it with, I think, Constellation Brands was the first major beverage company to enter the space. Didn't they acquire a large Canadian LP?
They partnered with a large Canadian LP with Canopy, and so,
Canopy, that's right.
they are. There's a perfect example. They invested in the billions because you look at the end of prohibition of alcohol.
Right.
Look at the end of prohibition, all these decades. End of prohibition, where have we gone for alcohol? What's going to be different with cannabis, CBD, cannabis-infused beverages, CBD products? You're going to be able one day, hopefully, to purchase these products outside of only dispensaries, CBD-infused products. You're going to be able, hopefully, get those in all national distribution in the United States. These are going to become these are good products that help people physiologically, psychologically, pain, mental health, etc. There is so much adoption to come from these products. We're just so early in the cycle.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And then, when you talk about the potential for um, material goods, I mean, that's a whole other like topic, right? I mean, once we get to a point where we're growing this plant for the fiber in the herd, and we're not so focused on the trichome aspect of like for the medicinal therapeutic aspect, there are so many applications to this plant that it's endless.
It's
So,
endless.
it's
It's endless.
endless, and we're living in the end of prohibition, and it's just so exciting to be a part of it, and to talk about it with people like you who are actually in the industry developing very innovative products. And so when you talk about Canada's 2.0 rollout, are they so I don't know where Canada is in 2.0. Have they launched 2.0, or are they still in the rollout phase of 2.0?
No, we've started launching and still roll out. I mean, look at we offer the white label opportunity.
Right.
So many beverage brands out of United Kingdom, United States, entrepreneurs. They're all just starting to get into the space, and our phone doesn't stop on the white label side. It's kind of exciting, I think. And think about it. What's going to be different? Just we'll segregate this just to beverages for our core strength, our core competency. And what's going to be any different with the amount of different brands that are going to hit the market over the next 10 years? No different than the alcohol space. How many
Right.
new alcohol beverages come out every year?
Right. Right.
So
And we're seeing that pattern with like celebrity launch brands, right? Like how many celebrities have their own vodka or their own tequila, and we're kind of seeing that play out, that being mimicked in the cannabis space as well, especially in North America,
sure, look at Mike Tyson and
Right.
Snoop Dogg and Seth Rogen and Gwyneth
Right.
Paltrow's beverage CBD beverage brand. This is great. This just creates more and more awareness for a whole new industry. The end of prohibition. Wow, whoever thought?
Right, exactly. What do you think? So here in the U.S., like we're kind of confused. Or at least I don't want to speak for everybody, but like we're kind of in this holding pattern of like we're seeing more states come online. We're seeing more bipartisan support for cannabis legalization at the state level. When it comes to the federal level, we've got the Senate, we've got Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer really advocating for reform, for legalization. The Biden administration has been pretty quiet when it comes to those issues. But when in fact it does play out at the federal level, whenever that is, how do you see that impacting Canada? And what I mean by the word impact, not like sales, but I mean like how do you see each country kind of fitting into this global market eventually? Like what's going to be Canada's strength? What's going to be the US's strength? Mexico's in this discussion as well. Like how do you see this all playing out internationally?
You know, I don't make the laws. The first step is it would be nice to have these countries that are all on the same playing field.
Right.
that are compliant. And then, is it going to be like alcohol one day? You see the alcohol market, you see Canadian alcohol market. We import brands out of the US and vice versa. There's opportunities for Canadian brands and American brands to dominate their own backyards and have that. Are we going to be able to ship products in between jurisdictions? That's to be seen with federal legalization. As of
Right.
today, you cannot ship any product from the US to Canada and vice versa.
Right.
So, that's why it's quite kind of an interesting model today, because, you've got great brands in the US that want to come to Canada, but they just can't. And the only way you can is to partner with the right people up in Canada, and then you'll get your distribution. And so I can't answer. I'm hoping that the legalization would allow. Maybe the legalization for the first couple of years will just start opening up on the U.S. side states to national logistics and national shipping and everything that comes into that. Because if you take a look at when Constellation gets involved in some of these, you can imagine some of the big companies that you don't even hear about yet, that we're aware, that are testing products.
Right.
The logistical companies in the US and Canada, they're testing out different regions just to get a feel on what is this business going to look like.
The groundwork's already being done for sure. Yeah.
Groundwork's already being done in the back behind the scenes.
Yep.
So I don't know where that ends up. For us as a company, we partnered, that not knowing what that would look like. We partnered with the number one beverage brand in the United States called Keef Beverages, and Keef is based out of Colorado.
I'm actually going to be talking to their CEO soon. It's funny you say that. Yeah.
Awesome. Great people. Great. You're talking to Travis.
Yes, Travis.
Travis is a great guy. They've done a great job. They're from Colorado. They have 8 of the top 10 selling brands, beverages in Colorado, and in California, they've got 2 of the top 10.
Wow.
But it was interesting. Last year, in 2020, they were the number 1 selling brand for units sold and dollars sold, volume sold. So they are the number 1 player. They've been around for almost 8 years. So you can imagine when this industry just started in that state, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so now we produce for them up in Canada. They're our partners, and we distribute for them as well. What helps us to get into the US market, knowing that we can't ship products over the border, we then have a beautiful relationship that when we come with our own products into the United States, we get to tap into Travis's network of manufacturers,
right,
and his distribution points to help us as well. So it's a beautiful relationship 2 ways.
And it sets you guys up for the future, right? When we do start to talk about the potential for interstate commerce at a global scale and all that, I mean, you have those relationships built at that point.
Yeah, I mean, I'd rather be in this situation than not be starting off and not having those relationships.
Right.
You're right. A lot of people today are looking for those partnerships to make sure that they're ready to scale and be ready for full distribution.
Right. So with BevCanna, like you mentioned that you work with, large MSOs, you work with entrepreneurs who are just starting out. So like what does that look like at the entrepreneur level? Is there any kind of set criteria, or is it just anybody that has an idea of formulating a cannabis infused beverage, or even just a plant infused beverage?
Yeah, I mean, if we talk about cannabis infused, in Canada, you can't infuse beverages, plant-based minerals, any beverage with a mineral, you can't infuse with cannabis. So that's one criteria, a little bit different than the United States. In the United States, there's no criteria. You can infuse a plant-based mineral beverage with CBD, no problem. Kevin, you asked about, entrepreneurs and what's barrier to entry look like. One of our biggest competitive advantages, barrier to entry is very difficult. If we did not build the infrastructure that we have today, I don't know, like if you want to do beverages, it's going to be hard to go to me and you to knock on the door of Constellation and say, would you help develop a white label product for us, or help me build my brand? That's not going to happen.
Right.
For us, as long as someone is serious about the business, has been able to figure out a formulation or a point of difference, we're there to help, and we can help from the side of, hey, what kind of form factor would you like? How are you guys on the formulations? We can also help you with that. Your packaging and your branding, you can take care of. We can always refer you to somebody as well.
Right.
Um, we can offer you aluminum cans. We can offer you PET, RPET. We can offer you glass. So we have all types of form factors that we can help you with. And our commitments for volume for entrepreneurs, and we can service smaller accounts, and
Mm-hmm.
we can service a national. So I mean, it's if someone is serious and has made the effort to come up with a formulation and they have something that's point of difference, then it's awesome because we have the infrastructure. We're the only bottling facility co-packer in Canada that has the ability to do CPG based products, regular water, plant-based beverages, any other beverages that are not infused with CBD or THC.
Right.
And we have the ability to do all CBD and THC, and we own full vertical. Water goes directly into our bottling facility, state-of-the-art bottling facility and equipment, and we're in business and fully licensed. And so that process today, because the criteria has changed now, every couple of years the government looks at it. The barrier to entry to get into the beverage business today is even harder and harder because before you can even consider getting your license, your facility has to already be built.
Wow.
And then you go through the procedures and hope that you get your license. So can you imagine the capex and the money involved to get that done? We have a nice balance sheet when it comes to assets. We've invested close to, our balance sheet on assets is over $55 million. So, over the years, slowly we built it, and we at least had a nice infrastructure that we have a point of difference, and barrier to entry is very difficult. But our phone number and our contact information, we help lots of smaller brands that need packaging and co-packing and white label. And so it's a great situation.
Yeah, you did. It sounds like you guys really did your due diligence up front to be in the position that you're at today. And it just, I get a smile on my face when you talk about just the range of your customer base, right? It's you're a company that's easily accessible. It doesn't matter the scale or the size of the brand. Obviously, you want to make sure that they have a solid business plan in order, they're executing correctly, and all that. But it's the entry to kind of get this started is there,
You
if
know,
someone wanted to.
our commitments on quantities are not high. It's on an annual basis, and it can be split up over quarters, etc. When you look at some of the, when I look at even us as a white label, and we look and we talk in the industry, and we see what some of our competitors are doing, and the requirements that they put for quantities of product. If you're a major, it's one thing to have big quantities, and then
Right.
as an entrepreneur, you have to have that flexibility. It's important.
Right. And we all were once there, right? I mean, we talked about at the beginning that, you're a hyper focused entrepreneur. I am myself also. And just to have those opportunities available to you, especially with an industry that's growing at a rapid pace, is a great option to have.
Yeah.
So Marcello, tell us, what is the future outlook for BevCanna? What are your plans in terms of 2021 and beyond? Are you scaling? You growing? Are you expanding into different? Is it provinces in Canada? I want to make sure.
Yeah, provinces.
Okay,
They,
good. There you go. Yeah.
uh, you know, we because the industry, we went through that consolidation. You can imagine the first year of the cannabis industry, Kevin. You've been around it. Everybody was excited. Wow, everything's great, and then the euphoria just settles down a little bit, and then you start looking at what are those business models, and where are you at in those business models? Are you a major like a Canopy, or are you a more innovative and entrepreneurial, etc.? So what's your point of difference, and how do you position yourself for the business? And I think that this for us is really building a business that is sustainable, is long term, and that we can generate revenue and profit as quickly as possible, and mitigate the losses in an industry that, when you are, we talked about that example of Nolan Ryan before.
Mhm.
when you are starting out and you're building a business, there are a lot of costs up front, a lot of expenses, et cetera, to get you to be able to build the business to a certain level that you can scale and get profitability. What I like with our business is we don't require a ton of cash, which I think is important. We're not like the big LPs that require hundreds of millions of dollars, and in some cases they're negative cash and losing money until you really got to scale.
Mm-hmm.
I love that we took an approach on making an acquisition with BevCanna when we acquired Naturo Group, which is the division I shared with you that's non CBD and THC.
Mm-hmm.
So I like that we took a four-pronged approach to revenue on our business. One, we went out and got barrier to entry very difficult for cannabis. Okay, great. So we've got a beautiful business model there. I think to the end of 221, 222, 23, that business will just continue to grow,
Mm-hmm.
and help us get to profitability as quickly as we can get to profitability. And then we look at, and before that business took time to grow, why don't we go get an existing business that already has points of distribution through that normal CPG? And so we have the CPG side of the business that's generating revenues already. So that's good news. So we don't have to wait for revenue. And then we also wanted to be a little bit more active in the US side and understand the US side with CBD hemp extracted products.
Mm-hmm.
And so we ended up acquiring puretherapy.com, a direct-to-consumer online site that sells hemp CBD products, so not cannabis,
Right,
extracts, and natural nutraceutical products as well. So we have a website that has a recurring business that we've have 23,000 recurring customers on average. The business before we acquired it was doing about 4.5 to 5 million a year in revenue. So we went out to acquire another business that would give us a great experience, a great platform to introduce our plant-based products and get them infused with some of our natural nutraceutical products as well that'll be infused with CBD, and see what the feedback is like from consumers. So we've got a third revenue model, which is exciting. And then the fourth is really having that partnership in the US and getting ready to launch on the US. And now we announced last week, we're getting ready to launch our plant-based products into the United States, our plant-based functional mineral products, and we're getting ready to have that distribution in the United States with our partnership with Keef as well. So it gives us as a business 4 revenue models that are very important, I think, for a young entrepreneurial business to mitigate cash burn as quickly as you can.
Right. Yeah, having those lines of revenue out there, right, on your fishing pole, you have 4 of them. It helps kind of alleviate some concerns and risks you may have because there's cash flow coming in different ways, right? And you can always
Correct.
kind of supplement and move things around need be based on the investment and the priority of the business.
Correct.
So it sounds like you're very, very well positioned, Marcello. And I've learned a lot, especially just from the burgeoning sector of the infused cannabis beverage space in general. It's just growing at a rapid pace, and you guys have really, really uniquely positioned yourself for the future growth.
And Kevin, one thing I want to also leave with you is, we're entrepreneurs, and you and I might be great at something, but that doesn't mean as an entrepreneur you're the best at every little detail.
Absolutely, 100%. Yeah.
We brought in some great management, our president and our VPs from our president was head of innovation for Pepsi for a number of years. Our VPs come from
That
Johnson.
helps. Yeah.
Yeah, Johnson and Johnson and Colgate. They've been around that industry of national CPG products. So
Sure.
this strengthens us tremendously. If I look and shareholders ask me questions and they say, what does the outlook look like? Well, for us, it's building and executing, and if you're looking to invest in this category, this industry, then take a longer term approach. I like people to invest 12 months out, 24 months,
Mm-hmm.
and allow the businesses to build. And if they have the foundation and they've got good management, and they're not in a situation where they're losing $40 million a year, hypothetically speaking, or you're burning that kind of cash, then you don't have to go to the markets to raise more money, etc. So you need to look at the investments from a longer term perspective. And if you do that, what do I feel our future looks like? I think we're in discussions, and we'll look at other M&A acquisitions, and we're talking to others in the field for more and more, continuing to strengthen our scalability, our sales, and our profit as sooner than later.
Hmm.
And so I'm really excited about 2021. I'm really excited to 22 and 23. I think this is just a business that will continue to grow. And so that's the best way that I can answer that question.
Yeah.
Being a public company.
No, absolutely. Yeah. And I look forward to the day that I can become a retail investor. So yes,
Ah,
I will be definitely be watching y'all's progress. And yeah, I've really enjoyed talking with you today. Marcello, where can people find your website and social media if they want to learn more?
yeah, if we're on all social media handles, bevcanna.com. And there's information. You can connect with a couple of our people. We do respond right away. And we are a public company, so we trade on the Canadian exchange under BEV, and on the OTCQB under BVNNF. So on all those handles, you'll see our presentation deck. You'll have all the information that you need. And if anybody has any questions, they're welcome just to reach out, and we'll get back to you right away.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much again, Marcello. And again, as this industry and this sector of the industry continues to evolve and grow, I'd love to have you back on to talk about the progress you've made with BevCanna
Love
and
that.
just kind of, everything overall. So
I would love that. Thank you for your time.
cool.
Thank you for your guest time to listen, and let's continue to trailblaze this whole new industry, because it's going to be fantastic.
I love it. I'm with you, man. Let's do it. And thank you all for listening. Bye.